Good afternoon and welcome back to Josh Burgun's online classroom. Today we will be going through our problem-based lesson plan that we've put together for this week's class period. This lesson plan I put together to kind of look at some of the current issues that we've been going through as a country, specifically surrounding the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, and how we're going to relate that to some of the information that we would be going over in one of my history classes, most notably American government. So for this assignment or for this lesson plan, the students would be paired together. They would be given a worksheet that I'll show you here in a moment, in which they will fill out. We'll have some kind of background information that they'll utilize, some links that I've given them on the worksheet to research, so that they better understand the information. And then at the end, they will be working on a presentation to show their knowledge, show the what they've learned. So for this problem-based lesson plan, the students will need their Chromebooks. They will need the worksheet that I'll post for them to Google Classroom. They will utilize the internet, obviously, with the links that I've specifically given them to good academic sources, trusted websites, where they can find the information that I'm wanting to steer them towards. Other than that, that's primarily the sort of resources that they would be using. Obviously, I would introduce the assignment to them, and I'll do that for you here in a moment. Again, I'll show you the worksheet that we would go through as a class. But after that, I would then break them up into to pairs, partners. That way they could move around the room. They could then begin working on filling out the worksheet together, finding the information that I'm asking them to find, and then begin the research-based presentation, or the project or problem-based presentation that I'm going to have them do. So let's take a look at the worksheet that my class will be filling. This is the worksheet that I would have my class do for this lesson plan, called Pandemics and the Upcoming Elections. So what we're doing here is we're taking a look at some of the current social issues or current issues that we're dealing with here in America, most notably the COVID-19 pandemic. And then we're going to apply some of the knowledge that we'll be learning about the voting process, especially for the upcoming presidential elections that will be taking place here shortly. So the students will gain knowledge about how our voting procedures worked pre-pandemic. They'll do research online to figure out what the government is putting into place in current times for how we're going to end up voting, so that we're going to be able to protect ourselves from further spread of the pandemic. But then that problem-based lesson plan really comes into play at the end, where the students will actually be able to come up with their own solutions to this problem. So it's kind of a three-tiered phase. We're going to learn some things about what is the COVID-19 pandemic. We're going to do some here, let me just scroll down so we can kind of get into this. So here are some of the websites that I've given the students to do their research. The CDC, there's a few news articles that are directly applicable, World Health Organization, the vote.org, and USA.gov. So they'll be able to use these resources to learn about the election process, learn about what's going on with COVID. That way they can apply that to their projects. So first and foremost, they'd fill out a quick vocab. So if they're not familiar with some of these terms surrounding COVID-19 or the pandemic, they can familiarize themselves. That way they understand that part of the process. So they would fill this out. And then there's a few questions that I would have them fill out about the pandemic. So these would be the research-based questions that they would need to utilize the links above to find the information, and they would fill that portion out here in this area. They continue to scroll down, and now they would look at the voting process here in America. So they would fill these out again utilizing the links provided above. They can find all of this information. So during this part, after I've broken them up into groups, they all should have their computers open. They should all be working in their partners to fill these out. I will be walking around the room and basically checking to make sure that the kids are staying on task. So I'd be, checking in if students are struggling to find specific, answers to any of these questions. I can point them in the right direction, nudge them to look at information in specific places. But they'll be pretty independent during this portion of time, essentially utilizing again the links to fill out this worksheet. So then we get into the your solution problem. So we know from answering these questions, we'll know what sort of things are going on as far as what's happening with COVID, what has happened with the voting process pre-COVID, and then now currently what procedures and processes are being put in place when it comes to voting. And then we're going to take a look at what would we do, and this kind of allows the students to again creatively problem solve, utilizing information that they would need to know for our history class, but also doing it with a situation that's directly applicable to their lives, something that's impacting them currently, like COVID. So I've given them some prompt questions here to answer. That way they can kind of get their minds thinking of how to solve this problem, and then ultimately they are going to do a presentation project. So there is a few requirements here. They must include important information that they'd gathered above. Has to include the former process, has to include their kind of creation plan, their invention. They get to really be creative in this part of the lesson plan to really come up with what they feel is the best solution to a voting process during this COVID-19 pandemic. I've also given them options for how to present that project, so they can create a page on a Weebly website. They can create an Animoto video. They can utilize Canva, or even create a song on GarageBand. All of these different mediums that our students really like to utilize and be creative with. I've kind of given them the reins to be able to really utilize some things to make this assignment fun and creative for them. Grading wise, because these problem solvings, or the solutions to the problem rather, are going to be creative for the kids, I'm really grading this project, this assignment, based on the student's effort level. Obviously I'll grade the worksheet to make sure that they're finding the correct information, but then how creative they can be in the creation of their presentations. They'll present them to the class, not just to me, so they'll present them to their peers. But this is I believe a good way that the students can solve a problem that, again, they are dealing with during this time period, and utilize the information that's relevant to our class at the same time. So I hope you enjoyed my problem-based learning lesson plan for this week, and hope you have a good weekend.